We introduce you to our better half. We call ourselves Venom. We're your old clothes, kid. Your hand-me-downs. The symbiote that Peter Parker tried to destroy, Eddie Brock has embraced.
There's a new street fighter on your windowsill. The weapon is peace. The word is chill.
Hello, Marvel Legends. Back with another one of those Brock rockin' beats. You know, from the song Block Rockin' Beats, but Brock, because it's Eddie Brock. Damn, my talents are wasted. Hear me out on this, okay? So, Null, the god of the symbiotes, comes to Earth and he says, you know what? I'm sick of that Eddie Brock. He's really hashing my potatoes. Because anyone who's read King in Black will know that Eddie Brock is kind of persona non grata for Null right now. It's a great story at the moment. But either way, first of all, I'd say, what are you doing here? And not in a rude way, but what is Null doing here? And it turns out he's sick of Eddie Brock. And he's like, I don't want anyone to have Eddie Brock action figures, all right? I just can't stand the sight of that guy, so I'm going to take them all. And I would say, look, Null, you might not realize, but I'm kind of a big deal online in the internet. I've got kind of a following. What I'm saying is people know me, so let's compromise. Let me keep one. Let me keep one Eddie Brock figure. And Null's like, all right then, but you have to decide which Eddie Brock is best. Well, folks, that's what we're here to do. We're going to sit down and we're going to decide which Eddie Brock Venom is the Superior Venom. And no, I'm not talking about Superior Venom. Why? Because that's not Eddie Brock. That's Peter Parker with Otto Octavius's mind in him. That's another video for another day. I'm going to look at the Eddie Brock symbiotes and we are going to decide which Brock is best. So let's just take it straight from boom, the first by my time frame, the first Venom. Yes, there have been previous Marvel Legends Venoms, but we all know that my collection kind of starts with the 2015 Return of Marvel Legends type line chronology. That's where we're going from, and this beautiful baby right here is the first Venom to come along in that wave from the Absorbing Man wave. If I'm right, I think I'm right. Stop me if I'm wrong. Yeah, that's what the comment section is for, and Lord, do you guys use it, which I'm actually very grateful for. I'm pretty sure this is Absorbing Man. So let's take a look at the Absorbing Man Venom. Now, this was one that actually encouraged me to get into Marvel Legends right at the start because I saw him and I was like, oh, is that the best Venom I've ever seen in action figure form? Maybe. We'll know by the end of this video. So one thing, I can't off the top of my head remember if he comes with clawed hands and fisted hands, or if I've taken and mixed and matched these. I think he does. So speaking of mixing and matching, I like having one clawed hand and one fisted hand, just to kind of mix things up a little bit. But I change these things around all the time. The body, I want to say it's the Hyperion body, but I don't know for sure. I don't think it is actually. The chest isn't big enough, but what I will say is it's a great Venom body. Is it the best, most perfect Venom body? Oh, maybe not. But, oh my goodness, it's just got standard Marvel Legend articulation, but that standard articulation works so great for Venom. What I love, the pose that I love doing most is the good old ab crunch down, head up. That's a real kind of kind of look there, and I dig that the most. Like he's about to pounce. He's down and about to strike. That looks so cool. Now this is, I think, the most picture perfect Eddie Brock Venom head. Wow, I totally gave the game away on that one, but it's true. Are there other things that they could do? Yes, absolutely. But with the tongue coming out, with the teeth, with the green slime, oh man, they just nailed this so well. Plus, if you look up real close, get closer still. Gotcha. No, you can see, if you'd still trust me, you've got the actual lovely markings, the lines in the forehead, the brow, the actual what do you call it? Like the grimace, the growl on the brow. This is the Mark Bagley Venom. That's what Mark Bagley Venom should look like, and boy, oh boy, does he look good. So that is a great start. We're starting off real high with this. Plus, he has another head as well. He's got the grinning just the teeth lined up type head. Again, so Bagley-ish, I dig it. So there's no sticky out tongue, there's no lashing teeth or green slime, it's just this evil, huge grin here. Really, really cool. And actually what I will also do is I will place black costume Spider-Man next to him as well. We're not ranking black costume Spider-Man because again, this ain't Venom. Venom's always been bigger, even when he isn't showing his mouth. You know, in those rare instances where it does just look like the Spider-Man mask, he is still just big and jacked up next to Spider-Man. That's what I always loved about Venom as a character. He is basically, he's what would have happened if a jock got the spider bite instead of Peter Parker. That's what I love about him. And you would see like what the symbiote would do to Spider-Man. It's like, what would happen if a bad dude got that? And oh, lo and behold, it happened and we got Venom.
Eddie, please, fight it! Don't let the symbiote control you!
No one's being controlled! We simply share the same desire. Your destruction.
So this is our first Venom. Now we're going to move along to a different iteration, but only slightly. And that, of course, is a figure that a lot of people might have said is surplus to requirements. And it is the Monster Venom Wave Eddie Brock Venom. And I know what you're thinking, Dave, that's just the same figure with a different head. Yeah, it pretty much is. The question is the actual body buck different? And I'm not entirely sure myself. I'm looking at them both together. I'm going to rearrange this Venom so that they're both standing side by side in a similar pose and I can kind of gauge it better. But I really think that, yeah, the chest, it looks... All right, someone tell me if I'm wrong, but I think these are both exactly the same body bucks here. I think this one might have a slightly glossier paint job, but maybe not. Maybe I'm going crazy. So really the only difference, the only real difference of any kind of note or importance is the Eddie Brock head. And this is a really stylized Eddie Brock head. This is straight up Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, big bushy eyebrows, crew cut, early 90s Eddie Brock. And I kind of dig it, but at the same time, it is very much of its time because nowadays, because Brock's more of a hero type character, I mean, hell, I'm calling it now. He's like the new Iron Man of the Marvel Universe. From Absolute Carnage to King in Black, Eddie Brock's killing the game and he's going to be Marvel's franchise going forward. So they've kind of glamorized him up a little bit. He's got the daddy look. He's got that beard, he's got the slightly more scruffy hair. He's very likable. This is the thug Eddie Brock. So because I arranged my collection in a chronological type way, this is perfect for my late 80s, early 90s Brock. Plus, he has the symbiote tendrils coming up around his head, and that's really cool. I really like that. And actually, while I've got them both out, I'm going to do something that I actually haven't done before, and it's surprising that I haven't done it yet. And that's put these symbiote tendrils over the other Venom to see how that looks. And that again, oh, that's pretty cool. I dig that. I really like that. But I won't judge this Venom with those because A, that's not fair because they didn't come with him, so he can't steal them. And B, without those tendrils coming up around his head, the Brock head looks kind of naked. So I'm gonna keep these on Eddie Brock. But ultimately, I've got to say, this figure, you only really get him for the Brock head. He does have another head, but it's not the most exciting head. Let me see where I put it. It's so exciting, or not as the case maybe. I couldn't even find it. Ah, here we go. He has what we call the killer whale head, because that's all there is to it. There's no lashing tongue. There's just, is it the same as the original one, just without the tongue? I think it might be. It's slightly different. He doesn't have the... Yeah, it's actually not as good because he doesn't have the scowl on his forehead. He hasn't got any of the detailing between his eyes. So actually he's lacking in every regard. It's like they just took the cool head and went, well, we've got to make it different, so let's take away some of the cool aspects. Not good. So I can happily say that the original Absorbing Man Venom is currently the superior Venom when compared to the Eddie Brock head Venom. But because I'm a sucker who's going to buy them regardless, I have both, and I'm glad that I've got the Eddie Brock head, but that's all there is to it. I'm just kind of glad that I've got it. Now, we're going to move on to something a bit more chunkified, because we have got, and this is a favorite for a lot of people, the big beast Deluxe Venom. And oh me meow. Look at this guy. Look at this beast. You wonder where the beef is? There's the beef. And this thing is huge. Of course. This isn't the first time we've seen this body. We have the Monster Venom Build-A-Figure, but why am I not going to include this guy? Because we all know it's not Eddie Brock in here, and it's only Eddie Brock who Null has a problem with. So Matt Gargan, he's okay. And that was what happened. This is Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, in here, because Eddie Brock had cancer, he had kind of a come to Jesus meeting and decided that he wanted to repent, so he sold off the symbiote. He literally auctioned it off so he could give the money to charity. And the son of a scumbag mobster was gifted it, and the symbiote quickly left him high and dry, literally just left him when he was mid-swing above a skyscraper, and then it bonded with Matt Gargan and we had Monster Venom. It was a very cool time, but eventually, of course, the symbiote found its way back to Brock. But I just wanted to show these two side by side because it makes for a fun comparison, but that's not what we're here for. So we're looking at the Deluxe Venom, and there's a lot going on with this guy, you know. First of all, the paint job is actually quite gorgeous. It's not a totally flat black. There's just a little bit of kind of a bluey kind of hue to it, which is just the perfect kind of combination for Venom. That blue hue makes it just a more of an organic kind of feel. Then you've actually got the sculpted on tendrils just coming off of his back and off of his arms. That's fantastic. I don't like an overly gloopy Venom. Okay, I like more like it looks like a suit, like a tight costume suit, but it's fun to have just a couple of tendrils just to give a little wink and a nod that, you know, something's rotten in Denmark. This thing is not what it seems. So that's fine. That's not taking it too far. Now, of course, he's got the huge big gorilla type monster arms. That's so cool. And the head. Oh, me Jesus, me Mary, me Joseph. This is a Venom head, and what an amazing one it is. This is taking the huge teeth and jaw and tongue to its natural conclusion, and it looks so cool. Now, a problem I had, which I kind of fixed myself, which I wouldn't call it fixed because of my amateur efforts, was that the tongue and the mouth were all just this really flat, bright red color, so I threw some pink paint on there just to mix it up, make it a bit more interesting. Results may vary, or opinions might vary. I don't think it's a particularly good job, but I like it just because it's a little bit different. But they really could have spent more effort with the paint differentiating the tongue with the jaws and the tongue with the gums and whatnot. So that's kind of a shame, but the articulation on this thing, I love the huge torso crunch, and then you can raise the head and the arms to give it this kind of like really mean pose, like it's looming over its next victim. Or even you can do a great little sort of twisting pose I like to do, where he's got one hand on the ground and he's sort of lunging towards his next victim. That's super cool. So there you go. That's what I like to do with that Venom. Because he is quite tall, you don't always want him dominating a shelf. So like this, it's just like, I'm coming to get ya. And that's really cool. An only problem I sort of have, really, like the big one, is that this doesn't correspond in my mind to any particular Eddie Brock Venom. Now, he has been drawn huge and big and monstrous like this in the past, but not in an iconic way, I don't feel. You know, like in Maximum Carnage, in stories like that, he was always more of this kind of, you know, basic sort of Venom size. The only times that he's like really huge and monstrous is when it was the Mac Gargan Venom, which is not what this Venom is. So I'm like, it's a great looking figure, but it's not, in my mind, the perfect iteration of Eddie Brock, because that's not the Eddie Brock I know. Speaking of not the Eddie Brock I know, but still Eddie Brock, we have, of course, since we got the big boys out, Toxin. Now this, you talk about a monster, this right here is a monster. I just wanted to include him for the comparison with the 3 monster venoms next to each other, but I'm not going to include him in the potential rankings because this is Venom we're talking about here. We're comparing the venoms. This is Toxin. This is apples and oranges, but with an Eddie Brock core. So I just wanted to get Toxin out just because he's amazing. I love this guy so much. When they announced him, I was like, oh, it's exactly what I wanted. Because we had the original Toxin and I was like, nah, it's not exactly the Pat Mulligan Toxin. It's not exactly the Brock Toxin. It doesn't know what it wants to be. I want the monster Toxin. And Hasbro was just like, okay, Dave, we'll get right on that. And boy, did they ever. And that face, that gnarly walnut face. So cool with the green tongue. Oh, love this figure so much. But right now we have, in first place at the moment, I feel, we've got the classic Venom right here. Then we have the monster Deluxe Venom right next to him. Then bringing up the rear, we've got the Eddie Brock Venom because there's just not much to him. I'll put little Spidey here so we've got a nice kind of trailing effect. But there is one more Venom to compare, and you know which one it is. Oh, also, just for the record, I present Space Venom. Ain't he great? That's all I got. I got the Space Venom head, and that's it. But again, that's Flash Thompson, so whew, dodged a bullet. Now then, also, just for the record, we got Pork Grind as well. Is it Pork Rind or Pork Grind? I don't know. I've never read Spider-Ham comics. I don't really care, so you got that head, but it is what it is. But finally, of course, we have movie Venom, Tom Hardy Venom. Now look, one thing I didn't say about this one that I really like, which I do, and I think they've started to do just like as standard for Venom's design, is real feet. Actual proper feet with toes and claws. Same with Monster Venom. And it makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you have real feet with toes and claws? He's not trying to be a costume anymore. He's a living creature. So give him proper toes and claws. And they generally do. I think like in the Ryan Stegman comics, Venom has that. And that makes sense. So the movie Venom is a weird one. He's a tough nut to crack because there's so much about it that I like and so much that I just don't really care for. Now, the body, the buck, is pretty cool because it's big. You know, he's big and tall. As I was saying, the original Venom is maybe a little bit too small, and something smaller than this would be ideal. And we've pretty much got it with this movie buck. I feel like this is, people have also said that Sabretooth should be this kind of size. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. I can see how that would work. So the size of the body is pretty good, actually. Although since I was speaking about the feet, I don't like how open wide the toes are. That just looks a little bit weird to me. But I love the texture of the body because it's not perfectly smooth. It's kind of all rough like a rhinoceros hide. So that's really cool. But then also he has this kind of lower torso, sort of abdominal pivot, and then kind of a upper body torso pivot. So it's very different from my original Venoms, and that's kind of nice that you have different kind of posing options. Then everything else, like I just love the huge big shoulders, the musculature, the size looks really threatening. What I don't like, and of course this is a big one unfortunately, is I just don't like the head. I just don't like the face design. It's not a design that I like. I don't like the way that the eyes kind of go into a point in the middle. They look very sort of slim, and I wanted like bigger, like wider eyes. It looks like he's squinting. Well, kind of actually. I mean, maybe that's not the right word because they still look quite big. But I don't know. I'm probably not articulating it very well. But you don't come to this channel for me to articulate things well. You come to watch me rant and rave like a lunatic, and I always provide that in spades. But no, the eyes just feel off. They just don't seem quite right, and they're too centered. They come too close to the middle, so it just doesn't. I don't like the shape of the face, and then he loses like the nice kind of ridge of the nose that Venom, like this kind of classic Venom, I feel has more of a snarl, more of a snout. And if you read the more recent Venom comics, he has more of a snout to his nose as well. Whereas this just has kind of it goes flat down into the teeth, and I just don't dig that. Now I can't fault it because that's exactly what it looks like in the movie. And that might be a reason why I'm not too keen on the movie either, because the design is flawed, I would say. I like how, they couldn't come up with a good reason to have the spider on his chest, although we know it's not a spider now, it's a dragon, but, that's comic book lore. But they at least gave him the white veins to kind of, hint towards the idea of it and kind of break up the plain black. So that's cool that they do that. But I'm just not a huge fan of it. Also, I just find him difficult to stand. I mean, I'm not great at posing figures anyway, but it just seems like his feet, his weird splayed out toes, it's a little bit difficult to stand. So, the body is great, but I just feel the face doesn't quite do it for me. So I'm gonna put him as a number 4 on the list there, with Eddie Brock Venom bringing up the rear number. Oh no, he's number 3, because I was counting Spider-Man there, which I'm not, because that's not Eddie Brock, and this is an Eddie Brock list. So there we go. Number 1, Absorbing Man Wave Venom. Number 2 is Deluxe Venom. Number 3 is the movie, and number 4 is Eddie Brock. And there you go. That is my ranking. That is my ranking of the Marvel Legends Modern Venom symbiotes. Folks, what do you think? Was that a fair ranking? Was I completely out of line? Comment below, let me know. And if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then join the 6-1 clicks by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you really want to do something a little extra for the channel, you can go to patreon.com/displaying model behavior. Throw a few shekels my way. And also, check out the link in the description below for the Discord. There's always good fun conversation going on there. And also, I have a sister channel as well, Displaying Miscellaneous Behavior, where I talk about movies, comic books, video games, wrestling, anything that is not action figure related will go on there. And that is it. That's all the plugs covered. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. So until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Cheers.